biker bob. The athletes are going to come in and they're going to push that bob down the field, and then they're going to split up into male-female pairs. One pair is going to go out on the bike for a 1 mile bike ride around the course, while the other pair is going to stay on the field, push bob down and back the field, and then complete 30 synchronized toes to bar. The pairs will flip-flop and do the opposite movement. They'll each go through each part of this event 3 times.
Recipe for success, Jeremy.
Absolutely. Timing on this is absolutely essential. We found that out in heat number 1, and making sure the stuff you do on the bike out on the mile course is exactly in line with what the bob is doing and the synchronized toe to bars, and selecting your correct pairs and making sure you've got adequate positioning on the toe to bar, and also getting that bob back in time for the swap back onto the bike.
We had a 2-hour weather delay. What do you do for those 2 hours? Down to Jamie Hagiu. Jamie, thank you. As we take a look at the weather, 71 degrees. It's nice. The humidity, not so nice. There are some more thunderstorms in the area until about mid-afternoon today here in Wisconsin. But the impact, and you can see some of the puddling on that bike course out behind the Alliant Energy Center. Lane assignments here for the second half of the teams. CrossFit Mayhem Freedom, the defending champions, defending undisputed in lane 9. CrossFit Oslo Navy Blue in lane 6 finished second to Rich Froning's Mayhem Freedom team on the podium at the 2021 Noble CrossFit Games. CrossFit Invictus, the only affiliate that has had a team at the games every year since there has been a team competition. CrossFit Mayhem Freedom, 279-point win last year, biggest in history.
They like to just make history. Rich Froning is looking to get his 10th CrossFit Games champion. He has 4 as an individual, 5 on the team side of things, looking for his 10th championship this year.
Most dominant performance ever, and Mayhem maybe got better this season with the additional Samuel Cornoyer. They are the unstoppable force, the immovable object, though. That may very well be Iceland Annie and her team from CrossFit Reykjavik.
Absolutely, Joel. And the token Aussie that we have got, Khan Porter, in that team. So they've got a whole country behind that team as well, as long as our other 2 teams from Australia competing. But Lauren Fisher, that's going to be the interesting one. Annie mentioned that that shoulder injury has caused her a few dramas of late. I think that the shoulder in this event in particular is going to be fairly protected with the bob push, as well as that extension on the toe to bar. There's not going to be too much pressure on that.
You can see these teams pushing the bob here, splitting off into their pairs. It is down and back on the bob, and then the 30 synchronized toes to bar, while your other 2 partners are out riding the bike. You'll then flip, do the same thing. That constitutes 1 round. And you can see Lauren Fisher there on the right side, and as Jeremy alluded to, that was the big news this morning on the basically pregame show with Annie Sakamoto and Tommy Marquez, talking to Annie Thorisdottir at check-in on Tuesday, or rather on Monday. She has a shoulder injury, Lauren Fisher does, so for her to be able to compete here, they haven't done a lot of team training over the last couple of weeks, and it was a question mark whether or not they would go with Lauren Fisher when they signed in.
Pulling was a major issue, and Annie mentioned those pull-ups are going to be really tough for her. Any pulling movement, as this is a pushing movement with the bob, this should be okay. We're about to find out now how much shoulder strength she actually has got, and taking a little bit of time to get to the bar. The hang should be the easiest part for her, as long as she can protect it and probably not overextend at the bottom and get her feet too far behind her body.
Young woman that made her games debut all the way back in 2014 has certainly been around the block, podiumed on a team in 2019. Tanya, she looks good right now.
She does, and she has the team capacity. She has the history behind her of working on a team. I think that's why Annie recruited her to be a part of this team when Annie made the decision to take her competition to the team side of things. Lauren thought it was a joke. It was a DM through Instagram, and you know, but Lauren has the experience. It'll just be how well she holds up and how things feel for her.
Absolutely, and we waited at registration for so long, waiting to see who would actually turn up for the Reykjavik team.
They missed the registration time.
They did, and yeah, a lot of media around, and then it was a bit of a downer when Katrin was not appearing, but Lauren back in, and they said she was pretty much good to go. Plenty of space in between pairs, so pairs not having to stay together on the course.
You can see the dampness, the moistness of the dirt, the gravel out there. Does that help or hinder these teams versus the teams that went in Heat 1 on a dry course?
You have to be more cautious on the wet course. A wipeout would be costly if you get hurt, and especially this first round, I expect everybody to take it a little bit slower just to kind of ID the course, see where the puddles are, and make sure that they can safely run it, and then they'll know coming around if they can make it any faster.
Here comes Con Porter. Reykjavik has one athlete back in, way out ahead of the field. If nothing else, it gives Porter a little bit of an opportunity to catch his breath.
And here is Nicholas Hecht from OBA. He is an athlete I have known since he was younger. He started training at R-Box. He's a football athlete. He is strong on the bike. He was pumped to get out here, his first games appearance. He was excited about the bike, but nervous about the course being wet and what that was going to do to other athletes on his team and all the athletes as well.
And Annie Thorisdottir got back in off the bike, so Tola Morakenyo and Lauren Fisher are now out on their bike. There is Thorisdottir and Con Porter just driving through this bob. You have to wonder, with the moisture on the turf, does the bob not slide easier for these teams in Heat 2 than it did when it was dry in Heat 1?
Even if the bob does slide easier, your feet slide easier than too. A lot of these athletes, we did speak with them. We talked to some of the teams while they were waiting for their hours, and they were concerned. They were looking to get different shoes for this reason. They want to make sure that their footing is solid, and that is in a factory. You see some people with grips and some of the turfs.
Iceland also did make a TikTok during those couple of hours.
They did. I spoke to CrossFit Cell and CrossFit Yas in the background as well, and Michael Makaide from Yas actually said he's going to be wearing cleats on the field just to make sure he's got a little bit more grip. I'm not sure what that does for him on the bike, but definitely more grip on the field.
I haven't biked in cleats in a while. A special thank you to Trek Bicycles for providing the bikes and the helmets, not necessarily the cleats, that the athletes are using today. Visit trekbikes.com to check out road, mountain, electric, or fitness bikes. That includes the bikes that these athletes are riding here in Event 1 from Trek Bikes. Jorge Fernandez with the mustache coming in there from behind for Invictus. You can see hot on the heels of Iceland and the team from CrossFit Reykjavik. Andrea Nisler on the right there for Mayhem Freedom. She's working with Samuel Cournoyer. Cournoyer in the foreground of your screen, the newest athlete for this Mayhem Freedom team. Individual games athlete 2 times in his career. Con Porter has been on the individual side for Reykjavik, obviously, as has Annie Thorisdottir, 2 times a champion. A lot of talent, and it makes the team's competition so much more intriguing.
It does. Con Porter, I have not seen him in better shape in his entire CrossFit career, and it has really sparked him. I had a good chat to him yesterday, and he just said he is all guns blazing now. He's dropped a lot of body fat and looking very good. So he has ignited himself by going to train with the team, because he said he actually kept him out a little bit of trouble training so much, but he's very, very glad that he has Sundays off.
Said it's all he had to do. He couldn't get into trouble. He just woke up and trained. Much like these do. These 2 athletes in Mayhem. Sam Cournoyer coming down from Canada. Andrea Nisler coming down from Minnesota to begin training at Cookeville. This and last year, respectively. And they will now wait for the return of Taylor Williamson and Rich Froning Jr.
One of the recipes I mentioned earlier is that timing and making sure the transitions are very smooth. The athletes coming off the toe-to-bar have got a lot of time to recover. We found in heat number 1 that the fatigue in the legs from the bob push really started to kick in round 2. So athletes making sure they get through the toe-to-bar as quick as they can and make sure they've got enough before they get on this bike leg.
Jorge Fernandez in the front from Invictus, Tola Morakenyo right behind him from Reykjavik. Right now, your overall leaders, the team from Iceland, the team from Mayhem, both went undefeated in their respective semifinals, a perfect 6 for 6. CrossFit Omnia is in 3rd. They are the champions out of the Atlas Games in the semifinal stage. And you can see Lauren Fisher and Tolamora Kenyo coming in together, so Reykjavik's in good positioning here. What will be the end of officially the first round for them. Each of these athletes having to complete each of the rotations 3 times.
This event also being one of the longer events, it's really going to be important your pacing, that you can keep your tempo up. So this first round, really feeling things out, just seeing what you feel like, and then making an adjustment. After that, I expect a team like Mayhem here to actually pick up speed as they go. That you start a little bit more cautious in an event that you know is this long. What I want you to watch, though, is they have shirts on Bob. It is really important. Mayhem knows all the details, paying attention. They can wipe themselves off if it starts to rain or if it's spritzing out there. They have their shirts that they can dry things off. Really smart.
Everyone always looks at how they can gain an advantage on CrossFit Mayhem Freedom, and then this event was announced, or at least pieces of it were announced. They said there would be biking for the first time ever in the team competition, and Rich Froning's account posted on Instagram, "And we thank you." And the entire rest of the team division, I'm sure, sighed and said, "Oh, come on." Mayhem licking their chops trying to hunt down Reykjavik right now, and Invictus in first place. That is the specifications of Bob, 667 pounds, as we told you in Heat 1, about the size of pushing around a vending machine.
And this is something that Mayhem did get their hands on, a Bob-like element, not the exact replica, but one they have been training with. They train often in it. If there's an area that they feel is a weakness, a lot of times we look at these athletes and we think they don't have any weaknesses. It's just scalable, just like everybody back at home at your box. They still have things that they need to work on, and when you recognize that, you get to work doing it. They've got themselves a Bob. They put the time in with it. They look like they're communicating really well when they need to take their pauses.
Taylor Williamson looks like she's just going for a stroll on the boat.
The last time they just went for that push, then the bob moved a fair bit, so there must be a bit of moisture on the turf at the moment, which is going to be moving the bob around. You mentioned that the feet are going to be slipping out a little bit more, Tanya, but these guys know what they have to do. They know the timing now because they've done the first round, so they're going to get to work straight away and rest at the back end of this 30 synchronized toe to bar.
They're adaptable athletes, so a lot of times it's more of what we're saying or they're thinking about it, but once you get out there, you just adapt on the fly, you make the adjustment.
There's your leader right now, Jorge Fernandez in the front. That's Devin Kim in the background. Team from Invictus. Again, the only affiliate that has had a team at the games. Every year there has been a team competition at the games. Devin Kim has been to the games as a teenager. Jorge Fernandez, though, in the foreground is kind of Invictus's secret weapon. He's 27 years old, former very good baseball pitcher at San Diego State University. And the coaches at Invictus kind of look at him as the dark horse, someone to keep an eye on if you're buying blue chip stock, eventually at the individual competition here in Madison.
So roughly about 3 minutes for the gentlemen, based upon what the individuals did earlier on today, and about 3.5 minutes for the females on the average round of a mile. So Rich getting that round done and knowing exactly what he has to do and the timing spot on once again, and making sure they've got adequate rest at the end of this round.
Who patented the mouth guard half in, half out? Is it Steph Curry or is it Rich Froning? Again, you can see the moisture, 2-hour rain delay because of both rain and also thunder and lightning in the area, has really matted down the course, particularly on the dirt and gravel. That is not a paved course you're looking at. That is loose dirt, loose gravel. There is some puddling on it. Brittany Weiss from Invictus here coming back into the North Park.
And that dismount was an area that caused some of the other athletes some trouble.
It was Mayhem Independence that just had a tough handoff between Sasha Nieves and Alexis Johnson. Oslo Navy Blue is in front. Invictus trying to come back on their heels here, with Fernandez and Kim now out on the run. That'll be Joshua Alshama and Brittany Weiss. Going to work here on the bob, not far off pace. 8th day CrossFit Black in 28:02 is your time to beat. 28:10 from Oslo Purple Red is currently in 2nd place. Nistler and Froning, Mayhem Freedom. Or excuse me, Nistler and Cornoyer. Con Porter, Annie Thorisdottir are the pair for Reykjavik.
Con Porter, we know he's got a massive engine and he looks very strong, and actually Annie waiting a little bit longer to get back on, and Con Porter ready to get to work.
Tanya, break down the form for me a little bit. The way that Con Porter is attacking this, and now Annie Thorisdottir has changed up her positioning a little bit, but was very extended on that last push.
She was extending her arms, probably giving her legs a little bit more of a break, using her upper body, but then quickly transitioned, and that sometimes you just need to make the adjustment because it's so much time under tension, just to get a bit of relief.
It's Oslo Navy Blue now jumping into 1st place here. I love the confidence, Jeremy, of this team from CrossFit Oslo, because they were 2nd last season to Mayhem Freedom at the Games.
Which is okay.
Which is not bad. And Leona Richter told us last year 2nd was 1st. This year, no. It's not who can come in 2nd place behind Mayhem. She said last year 2nd was 1st. This year, 1st is 1st, and they're gunning for it from the get-go.
I was so happy when she came out and said that the confidence in the team is absolutely exceptional, and the pacing as well. They're doing very well just to pace off this first couple of rounds, knowing the first heat of this event, the fatigue hit some of these teams a little bit harder than I think they expected. So no doubt these teams were watching that first heat and exactly know when to push and when to back off.
Avon Dalreingard is the male in the background. Ingrid Hodenmere, the female in the foreground for Oslo Navy Blue. And they are done with their 30 synchronized toes to bar. They will wait for Richter and Biladel to return from the bike ride.
Probably the first time these athletes have actually done toe to bar in a bike helmet.
I can't imagine there's another time. Mayhem is done. Reykjavik is done. And again, everybody waiting for the return of the bikes here on these mile sprints. 1 mile course takes you through the campground, takes you through the dog park. Honestly, this morning when the individuals were riding bikes, you wake up and walk out of your camper, all of a sudden you're in the middle of a CrossFit Games event.
That was a smooth transition right there. And these teams are already looking better with their transitions, handing off the bikes, where to wait, which side of the bike to be receiving it from.
We have 12 minutes until we get to the time to beat, that 28:02 established by 8th day. You can see the Freedom tandem riding together off to the right. You don't have to ride together, you just have to go ride.
And to their left is the Independence team as well, used to working out side by side, so I'm sure that helps when you're out there in the field, knowing where other people are, where you usually are against them, for some familiar territory there.
Seems as though a lot of the teams are not struggling as much as the others in the bob push.
Yep.
It might have a lot to do with the water that is on the top of the field.
I know we talked about, hey, the sled, the bob might slide easier, but your feet also might have less traction. I think there's probably, after seeing it, more truth to the bob sliding easier than their feet having less traction.
Interesting setup with 1 foot flat, 1 foot on the toe, and swapping. We saw that in heat number 1, and a good way to strategize your rest periods. You've only got a couple of seconds to walk across the bob and then get back to work again. So you're not wasting too much time if you're just backing off.
Leanna Richter does have to be careful, though. That bobsled, or the bob, rather, is coming very close to moving out of the lane for Oslo.
But they have to stay close to the line. As you see there's 2 bobs in each lane, so they can't take up that entire lane. So
You're going to Titanic somebody.
It is really important to keep your head up.
You don't want your fingers on the outside either.
True story. No, it happened to Jen Ryan in the semifinals for Invictus last year. She banged her hand on a metal rail and wound up breaking it. Mayhem Independence has now overtaken Oslo Navy Blue in the lead. A lot of people talking about Mayhem Freedom, rightfully so. It's Rich Froning's team. They have been the dominant faction. But Independence is a team at these games for the 2nd time ever. Entirely new roster. But if you're training in Cookeville, you are a threat. Rich Froning, synchronized toes to bar, 30 of them here with Taylor Williamson. I thought that was interesting. Rich wasn't even looking at Taylor. That's how in sync these 2 athletes are.
Rich has been with a different team every year he's been to the games, but these ladies, he spoke about them at the MAC with me, and he has a strong pair of female athletes, and he said a lot of times the teams come down to your females, and he has trust in them, he has faith in them, and they have been working together so much that it becomes second nature, that they move the way you move, and you know how you're working together. But he's keeping his eyes out, seeing where everybody's at. They know their pacing and their tempo, and I'm not surprised that they were not leading from the beginning, just because you can kind of pick people off where you know when you're in control of your speed.
A lot more control in this set of toe to bar from Rich. The communication through those eyes, didn't have to say a word, but they've been practicing this sort of stuff for a long time.
So left of screen there was Reykjavik. Again, Lauren Fisher still looks to be just fine. Annie Thorsdottir quite open about her shoulder concerns coming into these CrossFit games. Oslo Navy Blue. Smooth transition. And Leanna Richter will walk that bike out. She and Nicolette Belladel back outside, coming up on 28:02 as the time to beat from opening Heat 1, established by 8th Day CrossFit.
Joel, this seems to be in Heat number 2. There is a lot more times for these teams after the toe to bar as in Heat number 1.
Yeah.
A little bit more pressure on those first teams and less water on the track. And speaking of tracks, there's a lot of tracks out on the 1 mile bike ride the individuals did earlier on. I was surprised that there are so many tracks out on the back end of the course, so they didn't follow the same track.
Choose your own adventure there. Pro 1 Montreal, another team to be reckoned with here. Got a good look at Maud Riopel. They were a top 5 team at the games a year ago. Seven minutes remain. When these athletes are done with the bob push and toes to bar, coordinated with the bike ride, they will then as a team reunite. One more bob push, and then they'll collapse at the finish line with the timer. Andrea Nissler on the right, driving here. And you can see how close they come on that pass. Those teams working in very tight quarters with 2 bobs per lane. Cournoyer is trying to turn them back, and you can see the communication with Nissler. New experience for Samuel Cournoyer, competing on a team for the first time at the CrossFit Games. They love him, though. He's got the infectious energy, right? If you're a team, Froning, Nissler, Williamson, you've been doing this for a long time. Taylor Williamson said it's kind of like having a puppy dog. You tell Samuel Cournoyer something, and he's so excited, it brings the entire energy of the team up.
It does. The team is not one person, but one person can make a big difference. And, I mean, That man right there makes a big difference. Whoever he brings with him makes it on the podium. But for Sam to have that energy and have that spark and that they can depend on him and his abilities is huge.
9-time champion. Could this year be 10? And then the other interesting twist for Rich Froning, we'll play it out there here in Event 1. He has been asked questions this year. Could it not only be 10, but could it be final? And he's checking behind him for Taylor Williamson.
And this is just it. It doesn't matter how well you are biking if your teammate isn't there with you. And he's not sure where she is at this moment.
It's almost an unsettling feeling.
It's like you don't want to disappoint him either. Sun coming out as well, which is going to dry things out, but I don't think there's going to be enough time in this time cap for it really to make an effect.
Now again, think about this. The time to beat is 28:02. And there's Taylor Williamson coming up right behind Rich Froning. 28:02 is the time to beat. Like, that number is going to be smashed here in Heat 2.
The bob was definitely faster. It just was. I mean, they've been waiting from the beginning here.
So Nisler and Cormier are done. All they have to do here
just as we expected, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise, your leader back with the push.
Here comes Oslo Navy Blue in first. They'll get in ahead of Mayhem Freedom and run back to the bob as a unit. So it's Oslo Navy Blue, not Mayhem, Independence, or Freedom. Hey, we said it already. Last year for Oslo, second was first. In 2022, first is first. It has been 1,800 days since Mayhem Freedom has trailed at the CrossFit Games. And one event in here in 2022, they are looking up on the leaderboard.
That is incredible for Oslo Navy Blue. What a way for them to start.
And now an absolute sprint. Here comes Mayhem, Rich Froning and company. It's early. Navy Blue at 24:34. Freedom in 3 seconds after, then Independence 2 seconds after that. The trio that many think might wind up on the podium at the end of the weekend. It is a long weekend, but Oslo Navy Blue has made the early statement. Finish in lane 17 for Portee, the first Finnish team to come to the games. Invictus flying across now. They were your leader early. Omnia coming in behind them. I tell you what, it's going to be a really exciting team competition.
Cracker. Reykjavik not doing as well. They started off very well, but seemed to fall away at the end. Has it got anything to do with Lawrence Fatigue? We'll have to find out. But great for Mayhem. Both teams in that top three.
I just want to put this in perspective. 1,800 days since Mayhem has looked up at somebody on the leaderboard in the team competition. That is a longer span of time than the entirety of the American Civil War and World War I. That is the reign of dominance that Rich Froning's team has just seen broken. It's going to be a long week, but they've got company here in 2022.
But that's a lot of fuel for him and his team to come right back with Independence right there as well. They're not going to back down.
All of this,
going to fuel more.
Tanya, all of this is still ahead of the time to beat from Heat 1. Everyone here will finish in the top half. Urban Energy done. Top 10 team at the games a season ago. Here's the Kiwis from Selwyn. And again, you have to imagine after pushing the bob with just pairs, once you put all 4 athletes on it, it becomes significantly lighter here at the very end of the event. Sarpsborg is done in 11. 26-56 unofficially. Overtake Team Density trying to fly in behind them. Team that qualified out of the Syndicate Crown in second place. 27 unofficially. 28:02 is still the time to beat by 8th day. Look out. Liana Richter, Ingrid Hodenmere. You know, all the talk for Oslo coming into this too? Remember back to Wadapalooza, January, teams of 3. It was Hodenmere and Richter competing with, competing against, rather, the Mayfem team of Williamson and Nestler and Haley Adams. They had Kristen Holta on their side, and they won. So they have the confidence coming into today that they can certainly do it.
And the speed that we saw them just attack this event, they definitely have that confidence, and they're here for it. They're setting down a statement now that this is what they're here for.
All 4 of them are members of the national team. That is a thing that exists in Norway. It is a country very well dedicated to functional fitness and the sport of fitness and CrossFit. Everyone finishes event number 1 in both heats. And almost everyone here in Heat 2 beat Heat 1.
The big question from the get-go was going to be, how is Lauren Fisher going to feel when she got up on those toes to bar? But the highlight of this whole event was really Oslo Navy Blue. They just blistered their toes to bar. They picked the speed, and they didn't change from that speed the entire way through. They had really clean transitions on the bike. It was perfect.
That's what got them up there, and the Mayhem team did come back strong. I just don't think it was fast enough or good enough. And maybe the fuel in the fire from Oslo got them over the line, because they are here to make a statement. And they only needed 3 to bring it home, but nothing was going to stop them. Event win. That is a remarkable, amazing start from Oslo.